Candace Owens, Narcissist or Something Else, Part 7. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We continue to analyse various aspects of Candace Owens' life across a wide range of time periods to pull together the evidence to make a determination as to what she is. Might she be an empath? Is she a normal, narcissistic, or a narcissist? We look now at some aspects of her interpersonal relations. For instance, back in 2020, during an interview on the Candace Owens show, Owens ambushed comedian and friend Nicole Arbiter by publicly naming her stalkers on air, despite Arbiter's explicit plea not to discuss it privately beforehand. Arbiter walked off the set in distress, but Owens later edited the episode to portray it as a debate victory where she destroyed Arbiter, thus exploiting the friendship for dramatic content and views. As a high school student in the early 2000s, Owens and her family, with NAACP assistance, sued the Stanford Public School District for racial harassment by white classmates, securing a $37,500 settlement. She later denounced the NAACP as one of the worst groups for black people, and repeatedly claimed systemic racism in America no longer exists. It could be argued, therefore, that she had leveraged the organization's help for personal gain, while later publicly discrediting it to appeal to conservative audiences, and therefore behaved in an exploitative fashion. An alternative argument might be that it was prudent for her to utilize the assistance of the NAACP at that point, and as a consequence of learning more about the organization, she had changed her view in relation to the efficacy of that organization and determined that it was and is one of the worst groups for black people, simply expressing her opinion. Following Charlie Kirk's death in September 2025, Owens released alleged private iMessages from him, accusing Ben Shapiro and others of scheming to sabotage their careers, framing herself as his betrayed confidant. There was an insinuation that his widow, Erica Kirk, murdered him to cover up infiltration by Zionists and powerful donors, all while earning over $130,000 monthly from super chats on her shows. This appears, therefore, that a former colleague's tragedy has been turned into some form of lucrative grift, enabling financial opportunity to be exploited following his demise. That could be seen as something that is interpersonally exploitative. In 2016, Owens launched Social Autopsy, ostensibly an anti-harassment site, but then utilised it to dox and threaten the life of former law enforcement officer April Tree of Logic Haley, a critic of her views. Owens publicised Haley's personal information in retaliation for online disagreements, exploiting the platform's tools for personal vendettas rather than its intended purpose, or was Owens simply defending herself as a consequence of attacks against her? In 2023, despite mounting evidence of human trafficking and rape charges against Andrew Tate, Owens publicly defended him on her podcast, dismissing the accusers as unreliable and aligning herself with Tate. Was this done as a belief in the legitimacy and believability of those witnesses, or was it a simply cynical move to boost her provocative brand? Could it be suggested, therefore, that this was the exploitation of vulnerable women's testimonies for controversy, positioning Owens as a free speech defender while ignoring victims' trauma? In 2025, Owens interviewed disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein, who had been convicted of rape and sexual assault. She provided him with a sympathetic platform to complain about his unfair treatment. This might be moved as an exploitative step with relation to the ongoing pain of Weinstein's numerous victims by rehabilitating his image for clicks, while Owens profited from the sensationalism without accountability. During a 2025 podcast defending Michael Jackson against child molestation charges, Owens claimed that one of the accusers was drugged by his own father to fabricate the abuse, accordingly directly victim blaming a minor survivor. She utilised this narrative to humanise Jackson and attack #MeToo, exploiting the case's cultural weight to fuel her rhetoric at the expense of a victim's credibility, which could be viewed as exploitative. After 2 years at Turning Point USA, Owens was reportedly fired for being extremely difficult to work with. Yet, she later exploited her past ties to Kirk by accusing Turning Point USA of betrayal and infiltration in 2025 episodes. This smeared her former employers and Kirk's widow publicly, using insider access gained through the organisation to settle personal scores and drive her independent content. Is this simply an instance of defending oneself as a consequence of a falling out and the fair utilisation of inside information? Or is there a greater agenda behind it and it is evidence of interpersonal exploitative behaviours? In October 2025, Owens claimed podcasters Josh Hammer, Seth Dillon and Bill Ackman lied about group texts and retreats involving Kirk, events that she was not part of, although she did not provide her own evidence. Again, is this the utilisation of their proximity to Charlie Kirk to enable Owens to insert herself into the narrative, exploiting shared conservative networks to amplify unproven smears against them for relevance following Charlie Kirk's death? And again, might this be viewed as interpersonally exploitative? It's also the case that there have been instances whereby Candace Owens has built a public persona around a bold, confrontational commentary, often dismissing critics or opposing views, which might be viewed with a superior tone or unsubstantiated claims. In a viral TikTok clip, Owens claimed that people with college degrees are illiterate and urged viewers to do your research via Google, squirming when confronted with actual scholarly evidence. Is this a legitimate positioning of encouraging people to simply think for themselves? Or is it a haughty dismissal of formal education because she positions herself as the sole arbiter of truth, ignoring her own lack of a completed degree? On the Keeping It Real podcast in April 2025, Owens attacked actress Blake Lively for allegedly faking victimhood in a film about abuse, labelling her as a flippant, arrogant C-list actress who trivialises real survivors. Owens positioned herself as a moral superior, shaming Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds as narcissists. Was this simply an active utilisation of the truth as to what they are and an accurate description of Lively as a flippant and arrogant C-list actress who has been faking victimhood? Or might this alternatively be viewed as a haughty and arrogant stance on the part of Candace Owens? At a 2018 Conservative event in London, Owens stated that she had no problem with Hitler's nationalism if it stayed in Germany, framing it as a valid defence of national identity. After backlash, she doubled down without retraction, insisting that critics misunderstood her nuanced view. Is this an arrogant adoption of a view, or is it once again the possibility of somebody that stands by her own views, notwithstanding the fact that they're controversial and provocative? In response to Tina Knowles' Instagram post defending Beyoncé's 2024 rally appearance, Candace Owens recounted her normal weekend activities before pivoting to accusing Knowles of lying, positioning herself as the discerning truth teller above celebrity propaganda. Is this an accurate description of the role of Candace Owens, or is it again an arrogant and haughty stance that she adopts? In 2020, Owens condemned Harry Styles' historic Gucci dress photo shoot on X, claiming it exemplified the steady feminisation of our men attacking Western society. She dismissed the cultural milestone as emasculating nonsense, elevating her own traditionalist views as superior. Is this simply an instance of identifying errant behaviour and calling it out? Or might it be viewed as an arrogant stance whereby she deems that her views are always superior? On her show in 2024, Owens defended Kanye West's DEFCON 3 on Jewish people tweet, claiming, "If you are an honest person, you did not find this tweet anti-Semitic," and justifying it as a response to a supposed Jewish Hollywood cabal. This stance ignored widespread condemnation. Is this a legitimate defender of the truth, or a self-righteous, haughty stance? In 2022, Owens trended worldwide by wearing a White Lives Matter shirt with Kanye West, while repeatedly claiming BLM leaders were fraudulent grifters who don't actually care about black lives. She positioned herself as the enlightened black conservative, exposing a lie. Is this a truth seeker, exposing what is actually going on? Or is it another example of someone appointing themselves as the arbiter of the truth in an arrogant fashion? In a debate clip shared by Joe Rogan, Owens haughtily silenced an arrogant college student by interrupting and lecturing on topics like feminism, rubbing her temples in visible annoyance and dismissing his points as naive without substantive rebuttal. Is this an arrogant and haughty behaviour on her part, or simply the frustration of somebody having to deal with individuals who don't understand what she's explaining? In a November 2025 CNN clash, Owens shared email screenshots accusing the network of violating her boundaries on discussing Charlie Kirk's death, while evidence showed her team later agreed to limited mentions. Was this positioning herself as the victimised truth seeker and therefore operating in a hypocritical manner to mislead the interviewer? Numerous examples of the behaviour of Candace Owens over a period of time, which leaves the question as to, are we seeing evidence of repeated interpersonal exploitation and haughty, dismissive, arrogant behaviours? Or is this simply as a consequence of the fact that in order to expose the truth, this results in individuals forming an adverse view of her? Is it necessary for her to present it in such a way to ensure that people listen? And they decide instead that because they don't like what she has to say, that she must automatically be a provocative agitator. Naturally, you will have your own view as to which those things are, and the important matter is that we consider both perspectives as to what they might be as we continue to consider all of the evidence in the round. Join me in the next part for further considerations of the conduct and behaviours of Candace Owens.